What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Chiefin With Daily Dale. I'm your host, Dale Fowler, along with my partner, Lonnie. How you doing today, bro?
I'm good. I'm good. Feeling good. Just ate with the fam. Had a good little chill here on a Sunday. So yeah, I'm feeling good. How you doing?
Man, doing pretty good. It was a good Father's Day.
Yeah,
Just
good
hung
Father's
out the
Day.
house.
Happy Father's Day, by the way.
Man, happy
To all,
Father's Day to you too, bro,
yeah,
and
yeah, soon
everybody,
to be.
bro, out there. Man,
Yes,
hey, even for the Soonabes, we still appreciate everybody out there, the uncle dads, the fathers, all the active ones out there, man, who's really doing it big for their kids and just being a part of their life and supporting and loving them and caring. So we got pretty decent play on our show today. We're gonna be definitely discussing some more Chris Jones talk regarding that ring ceremony that he wasn't a part of, and also to discuss our the position battles that we're most excited for this upcoming training camp. I believe they said that's supposed to be starting on July 23rd, and then also Creed Humphrey and Tooney. They're projected to be first team All Pros this season, so we give our thoughts about that. And then also that new Netflix series that's coming up as well, that's going to be featuring Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, Minnesota Vikings quarterback Cousins, and then also Atlanta Falcons quarterback Marcus Mariota. So we're going to be diving into that. But starting off in our first conversation, in our first topic, so, like I said, Chris Jones reportedly did not show up to the ring ceremony that was on Thursday, and Veach provided an update on his contract negotiations. He said he is positive that it'll be done by the time the training camp start. So, how do you feel about that? Do you feel the Chiefs, and also how do you feel? We'll dive into that. So, how do you feel about that right now?
Now, as far as him not showing up to the ring ceremony, I feel like it's kind of gimmicky. Like we was talking about previously, he showed up to the White House, which is kind of weird to me. I know that he won his first Super Bowl when we first won back in was that 2020,
Yeah, it was a 2019 season, but we won it
2019
in 2020.
Yeah, so like when we went into that year, being that it was a COVID year, he didn't get to go to a ring ceremony. I figured he would be there, but I feel like it's just kind of gimmicky. This is a part of the games that we play when we get into those contract talks, and there's still nothing negotiated or a deal hasn't been struck yet. So we're just really kind of in that area where Chris may participate in some things, and then some things he just may not. Just because that dispute is still there and it's still looming, and obviously he feels like he's due, which he's deservingly so, being he's a Super Bowl champion, two-time Super Bowl champion. But I feel like Chris, like I said before on previous shows, I feel like Chris knows who he is and what he means to us and to our success. So I feel like, with that being said, that they'll get something done before training camp. I trust Veach. To get something done. I trust that he's at least talking there. He knows that that's the best player at his position, right? If you're going to lock down a player, you at least going to lock down the best player at their position. As of right now, Chris is the best player at his position. So there's no doubt you got to get the deal. You got to find that healthy medium, but you got to still be able to give yourself the perfect balance to where you can be competitive. And still make those moves just to have success, whether it be adding another pass rusher, adding another wide receiver, adding to your secondary, adding a linebacker, adding a safety, whatever it may be.
Hmm.
You still want to give yourself that ability to be able to make those moves. But I feel like Chris still knows that he's really the team is dependent on his success, and not only is the team dependent on his success, he's dependent on the team's success. If he wants
Yeah.
to get a contract after he leaves here, and continue to pursue his NFL career and be lucratively at a very high pay rate. So I feel like I feel like Veach is right, and I feel like he will get it done. We will see him in the building at least before training camp. He'll be training.
Yeah.
Um, as far as the ring ceremony, I feel like it was just a little gimmicky. It was just kind of gamesmanship. That's just what they're doing when there's a contract dispute. Um, you may not show up to everything. I may not be there for everything. Because we're having our differences. We're not seeing eye to eye on certain things, and it's a leverage game. So Veach knows what he needs to do, and Chris knows what he needs to do. He's been here before, man, and we've seen it before with Chris, and he's figured it out. I don't think he won't figure it out this time.
His market value for his contract what Spot Track is putting out there is 4 year extension that's worth over 120 mil. So basically, he'll be earning like 30 mil per annually, and then with that contract, he'll be ranking 14th richest in the NFL, and then second highest among defensive tackles, which he said he's fine with being that. He'll like to be top two. So right now, I think Aaron Donald's cap hit is actually at 31.7 mil. So Chris Jones will be what about a mil and some change under that, and he's deserving of it, to be honest. Even if it's not with the Kansas City Chiefs, he's going to get that deal, and I think that's what they're going to do because at the same time, that's really the same deal that the Chiefs was going to offer wide receiver Tyreek Hill before he got traded to Miami because he was going to be that $30 million wide receiver, but the money just wasn't aligning on the guaranteed and probably like the per year basis as well too, that he wasn't really feeling right. It was probably had some incentives in there where he'd be able to meet that number, but I think the Chiefs is offering him that same deal because that'd be second highest in his position, right? That's what he wanted. And then I think it's probably going through the same things that Tyreek Hill was going through with just getting that mark of what he's gonna get guaranteed his per yearly basis and what that cap hit is going to be. So they're probably trying to arrange it in the right form. But him not showing up to the ring ceremony, I think that was just mind games, letting them know like, I'm not playing. I need my money. I need it done. I don't want to participate until we got me in there for sure that I'm going to be here for years to come because he's on his one. He got 1 year left on his deal, so a 4 year extension. That means he'll be with Kansas City for 5 more years, and he's 28 years old. That means he'll be done with that contract with around 33, 34. So it's just to the point to where it's showing like, hey, I did show up to the White House. That that's one in a lifetime type of opportunities as well too. I mean, say if they win more championships, then they can go again. So it will be a common thing, right? But I don't think they were able to go in 2020 due to COVID. So going there, it just wanted to be able to show up, being a White House, being that a part that type of environment, then having his good pals there as well, like Frank Clark, who eventually went up over to Denver, but just having that relationship and being out there with them, I know it was very it was a great moment for them. So I definitely understand why he probably did want to show up for that, but showing up to this, that that like we said, that 2020 ceremony, that ring ceremony was kind of, it wasn't it. They were out on the field. They presented to them. They had their mask on. But this was a more of a formal occasion where all the guys, they got the little box. They had the highlight video in there as well too. We're gonna give our thoughts about that as well because those rings were really set up nice. Like,
Very
hey, when
nice.
you open it up, you can see Arrowhead Stadium. It's cold, so it's like we're like you'll miss that opportunity over some money for that, and they're working with you about that. But Brett Beach played it off well, and he answered the question like he was supposed to. So I think it will get done. I think he's just playing mind games with his shit. It's like, hey, I'm really trying to get paid. I'm a team player, but I'm ready to get mine as well too. Generational wealth, trying to set himself up for the future as well. We want to be able to profit and probably get some ownership out of the money he's in because that's a lot of money for one individual, and then making up over around 120 mil as well too. That's big time. So I definitely understand it. Of course, we're gonna keep you updated about this. Hopefully, something gets done in these next coming weeks because we want everyone to be ready by the time preseason coming. Then we want to be ready for that season opener against the Detroit Lions. So I'm
Absolutely.
sure they're getting everything together and getting everything right. But how do you feel about the rings before we even move on to our next topic? Because those they was hard. It was
Yeah,
tough.
I like the rings. I like them. I like them a lot. I really do. Like you said, the top popping off of them. I seen that you press the names in on the side. It pops off. I like the three trophies on there. We just said we only had two before, so like
Yeah,
it's nice to see. It's nice to see all
yeah.
three trophies on there. It's always to see cool just to see the details, the scores on the inside from the playoff run. Just everything, man. That was it. That was it. I love that ring. I loved it was done by Johnston's too, man. It was nice,
You know
man.
what I love the most though? I like the box the most.
Yeah, the
That
TV.
highlight video, the TV in there, that's tough. Now, me and Ray, this is somebody he'll be on here sometimes as well too. We was talking about it, and we was like, bro, like, how is that gonna work? Like, can they keep it charged with the TV keep going on? Because I'm gonna be honest, that's gonna have to go in a shrine or something. Like for them, they gonna have to like get them a trophy case, especially Mahomes and
Yeah,
Kelsey them, because if they're gonna be with the Chiefs and we expect to win many more, y'all gonna need a little areas to put y'all stuff. I
yeah,
think that need to be like what we have you seen House Party yet on HBO Max with
yeah,
LeBron, the LeBron James one?
yeah. The
You
truck.
like how he had that little ring from Cleveland?
Yeah,
It need to be in something like that because
yeah,
that's tough. And
yeah.
I'm dumb. I said, did they put the highlight video on the ring too? That would have you can't sell that. You can't sell that if you
Yeah.
did that.
That mug is
That would have
hard.
been
I ain't gonna
tough.
lie. That was
That would
tight.
have been tough.
It was a TV in there, got a volume button. Like, damn, that's a
Man,
whole like they got a whole giddy up on that. Like
that was
the
cool. And
box alone is like probably like 2,000, but minus the ring, the value of the ring is just like the box alone is
yeah,
like
yeah, bam, not even
yeah,
thousands.
not even
It might be
thousands, probably
meals. It
more than
might be
that. I'm sorry,
meals. It
like
might
yeah,
be meals. Meals.
like you don't put a
Exactly.
TV in every box. That's about 53
But
TVs.
But I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did it big, especially for that occasion, because that was the first formal one as like champions in this generation and in this new dynasty that they're creating. Like we said, wasn't really nothing big on the first one just due to COVID, but having it now, it was great to see them out. I was watching the Instagram lives. I was wondering in Kansas City if they was putting it on live TV. I think they should have did that because that it seemed like it was a cool event. It was a private event. They had it down in Union Station, so they had it put together. Union Station been busy,
Yeah,
these past couple
yeah,
months, draft
yeah,
and then the ring enshrinement for all
yeah,
that. So,
yeah.
all that is really dope. And I'm glad they were able to like, come together, especially on that. And now they said they're shifting towards the season now. They had their fun, now they're back to business. So, sad that Chris Jones couldn't be a part of it. We wish he could have, but we know we expect him to be a chief uh going forward for years to come, so we don't have to worry about that. But let's go ahead and jump on to our next topic. So Lonnie, what position battle are you most excited for this upcoming training camp?
Easiest to say, least to say.
It's too easy.
It's the wide receiver position, right? We lose Juju. We know we have MVS. We know we got Sky, and we know we got Tony, right? So we got
Mhm.
a three-headed monster right there. But those other spots, right? Those other like 6 spots, they kind of, I mean, not other 6 spots. I'm sorry, like those other like 4 spots, like are up for grabs. Like I feel like it's anybody can be in that room. I feel like all of those guys are interchangeable. Starting with Justin Watson to Justin Ross to the other Justin Ross. So I feel like they're all interchangeable. I feel like that's the position we're going to have the most competition at, barring injury. So as long as we don't have any injuries there, I feel like that'll be the most competition. I think you're going to get a lot of playmakers out of this room, right? I feel like Mahomes will have one of his best years like he had last year, spreading the ball around, getting it to everybody. And with the success of others is going to come the success of him. So I feel like he's due for another big year. Also, Kadarius, Sky, and MVS have a year in that position. I feel like from year 1 to 2 in Andy Reid's offense, we see wide receivers take a very big jump. So I just feel like those three are going to separate themselves from the field, also barring injury. But then we do still have playmakers like Justin Watson and, like I said, Justin Ross, the other
Mhm.
Justin Ross, the Nico Remigio, the younger guy. So we have playmakers in that room. That are still able to and capable of making plays and making big plays at that. So I feel like that's going to be the room that has the most competition. And I feel like it's going to be whoever can give that consistency, right? So
Mhm.
whoever can show consistently they can make the big plays, who has the hands, who's running that route on time, whose timing is good. So I just feel like all of those things are going to play a factor. But that's the room that I got my eye on the most, right? But just because it's a lot of talent in there, and you want to talk about a three-headed monster. People have three-headed monsters now. You're looking at possibly like a four-headed monster. Just depending on the type of playmaker that you add in that room, it gives you some extra depth and it gives you like just other different looks. That turns Andy Reid's offense into really dangerous. When you talk about the third guy on the roster being able to burn you or make a deep catch or stretch you. So I feel
Yeah.
like That's gonna be the room that has the most competition in it.
I mean, it's understanding. I mean, it's easy to say. And like the other Justin Ross you was talking about, you was talking about John Ross, the one
John
that
Ross,
we
yeah,
talked,
John
yeah,
Ross.
who he played for the Bengals, played for a couple other teams as well too. Came out. We already said it came out the same year as Pat as well. But he can be that over the top guy as well too, especially with his speed, and he brings a lot to that wide receiver room. But like you said, there's a lot of options. You got a lot of things that's going on. You got Rasheed Rice, who we just drafted. You
Rasheed
got
Rice.
Justin Watson, who had a solid season last year. Justin Ross, who the Chiefs were really hoping like if he was able to, I mean, he got through that injury for that first instance because they put him in injury reserve. So they were looking at him as like a number one option as well, too. So you got so much going on. And then you got, of course, got Kadarius Toney. So it's the most exciting because you want to see which six guys is going to make that roster. Like it's gonna be fine. And then if someone get injured, you're not worried because you can bring someone else up as well too. And then you gotta think about it like and then they brung in Kakol Crawford that was from the Colts, another electrifying guy as well too. So it's just so much is going on. You got so many players and wide receivers. It's gonna be fun to see what happens. But really, the what I'm most interested in seeing, and it's two position groups, and they on defense, and it's honestly the linebacker group and the DBs. We know what we have in the DB room, right? But we're wondering how it's going to be placed on the depth chart, how they're going to be fitting in those schemes. Because really, how I've been saying the whole time, they want Jalen Watson on the outside, Joshua Williams on the outside, McDuffie on the inside, and then Snead on the inside as well too, right? But see, McDuffie can play on the outside as well too. It's gonna be pending on how one of those guys are playing up against the best guy or on the outside, how it's going, who's being attacked the most, who is really being more persistent against those guys in those matchups, and it could shift towards that. But it's going to be interchangeable, right? Like they all can play from inside to out. So
Yeah,
it's going to be fun to see how it goes. But that's how I see how they envision it. And then, of course, you have that battle between Mike Edwards and then Brian Cook, who's going to take that Juan Thornhill role because we know Justin Reed is going to be that other starting safety. He had a solid year last year. Didn't hear his name as much. And, like I said before, when you don't hear the player name as much, that means they're doing their job. And then he's also being a part of tackles as well, too. Had a couple blitzes where he was able to get to the quarterback and get some sacks. But it's just, I wonder how it's going to play out. And then the linebackers, you got Willie Gay, Nick Bolton. We know they're solid. Drew Tranquil, and then Leo Chenal. And my thing is, I feel like Leo Chenal, he might be the odd man out at times just because he's still young, and Drew Tranquil is a veteran coming from another solid defense like the Chargers, and he had great games against Mahomes as well too, and then really all against other great quarterbacks as well. He just know how to do his job. Now, can Willie Gay stay healthy? Then you'll see more opportunities as well too, and you might have to bring up a practice squad guy who can come in fill the position. But it's gonna be interesting to see how that all come together because a lot of people think, well, with the Chiefs, they like to keep two linebackers out there. Sometimes they like to have more DBs out there. So really, it might be opposed to like a 4-2-5, opposed to like a 4-3, 4-3-4, where
traditional.
you have
Yeah,
four DBs, three linebackers, four down linemen. So they're going to trade switch. So they like to have those two linebackers out there. So it could be where it's interchangeable as well too with Drew Tranquil and Willie Gay because they're both athletic linebackers. They're decent in coverage as well too, and but they're also physical, aggressive, and they can get those hard hitting tackles. They can fill those holes as well too and do their part. So it's going to be fun to see how that goes and see what direction they go into because Spagnola, he's a guy who he leans on a hot hand. So if Willie's not playing as effective and Drew Tranquil comes in and do his part, you can see him get a lot of time and probably a higher percentage of those snaps because he's coming in and filling the role. And it's just a lot going on. But then you got Willie Gay in the boat who has that relationship on the field where you want to keep that out there and keep that chemistry. Right, so it's just gonna be fun to see. And Leo Chenal, he's our run stopper, but he's building and becoming more of that all around linebacker where we need him to be decent in his coverage as well too. Of course, that's going to be his weakness, but his run stopping ability makes up for that. So it's just very interesting. I just want to see how it goes. I'm going to be definitely watching out for that. And I think we got some young guys as well too that's stepping up doing this part. I believe the Chiefs run back Deion Bush as well. Of course, you have those guys, those young guys in there like Boodle, all the other guys, DiCaprio, just all those other DBs as well who comes in who be having solid preseasons. But where I want to see how interchangeable it is, like what direction they're gonna go. Because I would like to see Joshua Williams make that leap, just because his size and his length, he'll be able to match up against a guy like Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or Devontae Adams with their size and their height. He can be able to match with that, and along with his playmaking ability, if he can play the ball well, then that's going to be a plus for the Chiefs. You're not going to want to attack a guy like that, and then you're going to think you're going to go over to Jalen Watson and bully him. You're not going to do that to him. Then you're going to go. Then you're going to go on the out in the inside with one of your speed guys, or have a Jamar Chase and them go on the inside as well, try to expose that nickel down back coverage. But you can't do that because Trent McDuffie is a lockdown in two, and Snead as well too. They can both do it. And Snead is a guy who is effective all around. He's a great tackler of the football. He plays the ball well. He gets interceptions. He gets back there. He forces fumbles. He can do it all. So it's like you got so much you can do. So that's why I want to see how it all comes together, how they see that D-back group. So it's gonna be fun. And I always keep it on defense because I think we already know what we have with offense with Patrick Mahomes at the helm at quarterback. So they will be fine. They will work it out. Defense, we saw steady growth each year, having to like pick out some guys, put some more players in. You gotta like just go back and forth. We gotta interchange some things. So I want to see the growth and how it goes because we're able to make something happen with that group. But I'm ready to see a consistent defensive group on that 11 man side. I want to see how far it can go. I want to have solid guys. That's why I think it's important to sign a guy and keep a guy and give a contract extension to Chris Jones, because I want familiarity on that side of the ball. And that's what the Chiefs need, because if they're able to keep a top 10 defense, they will be perfectly fine. And we'll always be in contention for a Super Bowl. But we're going to go ahead and send it over to a commercial break. Once we come back, we're going to be discussing that new Netflix series, and then also be jumping into some talk about Creed Humphrey and Joan Thuney right here on Chiefin with Daily Dale.
What up, KC? On the heels of yet another Kansas City Super Bowl victory, we have an awesome opportunity for you to broadcast your business to the local Kansas City market. We've created something called Kansas City Sports Company, which is a sports media hub for multiple live shows, all of which cover all the local Kansas City teams. Now, we have 30-second ad spots, 60-second ad spots, we have event sponsorships, studio sponsorships, show sponsorships, and much, much more. This is a great opportunity for you to start early with us and broadcast your business to a very dedicated, very enthusiastic Kansas City audience. Contact me or hit the Contact Us link on our website to learn more about this opportunity.
All right, now welcome back to the show. Now jumping on to our next topics. Creed Humphrey and Joan Thuney. They're projected to be first team All Pros this season. So, Lonnie, what are your thoughts about that? And do you think they will be able to succeed and gain that honor this upcoming season?
Now, as far as Creed goes, I just want to speak to him separately. I'm gonna speak to this point separately, but I want to speak to Creed first. Creed has been consistent since he came in day one into the league. This is a guy that's been a day one starter since he was a rookie, since he was drafted. So as far as Creed's playing level, I've never questioned Creed's playing level, and especially seeing that he played at one of the highest level he's played in since he's been in the league this year, capturing that Super Bowl, showing that he can really lead that line, set those protections, help Mahomes up front. I feel like there's no doubt with that consistency model that he's showed, that no doubt in my mind that Creed won't be able to obtain that success and be a first team All Pro. Right? That was it. Right? So yes, yeah. I feel like he will earn that honor as a first team All Pro. Now, as far as Joe Thuney goes, right? This was a guy that played at a super high level when he played with the Patriots. He was able to capture those two or three Super Bowls with the Patriots. Then able to come to the Chiefs and not capture a Super Bowl, but get close. Be able to taste it, still obtain and play at that high level when he first got with the Chiefs. Seeing his second year, last year was not one of Joe's best years. I know he dealt with some injuries that first year, but he still was able to battle through and play, and he played at a high level. Joe was, I don't know if he battled a lot of injuries last year or not, but I'm pretty sure he had some. He wasn't
I
at the
think
best.
I think you might have got it switched. I think the first year was with us, he was actually solid, and then that next year he actually kind of dealt with some things because he was out for like a period of time, and then I think he dealt with a couple games this one as well too. But he hasn't been like horrible. It's like be like
Yeah,
1 or 2 games.
yeah,
Yeah.
he hasn't been horrible. Joe's not. No, I don't know Joe Thuney for missing a lot of games. So
Mhm.
that's not what I know him as a guard. But I just know his game has dropped. Be it from that first and second year. I could have swore Joe was on like a 3-year deal, wasn't he?
I think it was
Uh,
4 year
well, yeah.
actually.
The play has dropped either way. Nevertheless, the play
Yeah.
has dropped from when he got here, and it is just diminished a little bit. That's not to say that by just a little minor tweaks to the technique that he can't get things right and get back on track to being that All-Pro guard that we seen when we signed him to that $80 million deal.
Yeah.
Um, so like, there's no doubt in my mind. But I feel like if Joe continues to play at the level that he played at, I don't see him obtaining that success of being a first team All Pro. Just because it was a rough last year. It
5 year contract.
wasn't 5-year contract. Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
it was rough. It was one of Joe's rough years last year. He wasn't really that forceful guard that we know him to be. That guy really solidifying that run. And helping us get things done. But he was able to lift that play and get us to the Super Bowl and help him attain another Super Bowl. So I don't want to discredit Joe at all, but I don't think Joe's level of play was at that of an All Pro guard when he was playing
Mhm.
when he's during the regular season. However, I do think he did lift that play when we went to the playoffs, which helped us attain that Super Bowl. So I don't want to discredit him there because he was able to channel some of that champion that he has in him. And help us get to that success. But I feel like he didn't show that through the regular season. And I feel like you have to show that consistently through the regular season, a la Creed. And you will have that success and you'll get that recognition. But I feel like he hasn't done it. He hasn't done it consistently here in Kansas City, to say the least. But that's not to say that he can't do it. But if he does do it, I can't see him being All Pro. But if Joe Thuney comes out and has a couple setbacks, a couple injuries, I don't see him obtaining it. But Creed for
Now,
sure.
now I'm going to this. You're gonna be surprised. Honestly, ever since Joe Thuney actually got to Kansas City, he actually elevated his game because he only allowed 1 sack and 15 total pressures since he actually got here. So he actually been solid throughout his whole time. Now I think where I give him more credit as well too. People forget the game that Orlando Brown sat out against the Bengals when we played him in the regular season, and he stepped in and he didn't allow any sack that game. He was actually playing phenomenal,
And he played
and
hurt
he did,
too with a hurt
and he
hand, I
played
think.
hurt with a broken hand.
Yeah.
And it was debate that even came about that should Joe Thuney actually be the new left tackle in Kansas City? Like, no, I'm not going to go that far. No, he did his part where he was a veteran who stepped in. We needed another guy out in that position that we can trust because we dealt with that in that Super Bowl in that prior year as well, and we didn't want to go through that same situation and put Mahomes in that predicament. Now, first team might be a reach just because you got guys like Lane Johnson. You got guys like I believe is Quentin Nelson a center or a
Yep.
guard?
Yep. He's a guard.
So you
He's a
got
guard.
guys like Quentin Nelson from the Colts. That's just a tough group. Now he can get in that second team and third team talk, but it's just other guys who is just as effective. And even we got our own guys well too. Trey Smith, who is just a beast. So it will be hard, I think, for him to be considered a first team All Pro. However, he's going to be one of the top duos with Creed Humphrey just because of his ability to dominate on that front line, be able to move around as well too when needed if an injury is coming about. And then also with him being a part of a championship team before with the Patriots playing with Tom Brady and winning a couple championships over there. So he definitely brought the atmosphere to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now Creed Humphrey, he should get first team All Pro. The only thing that's going to hurt him is if Jason Kelsey has another phenomenal year at his age and keeps it up. because ever since coming into the league, he has been consistently the most dominant young center in the league. His run blocking, producing at an elite rate, is 91.1 run blocking grade from Pro Football Focus (PFF). So he's a stonewall in pass protection as well too, and he hasn't even allowed a single sack last season as well in his position. And we have great defensive tackles that he goes up against as well too, and it's phenomenal. And he's holding his own, and he's a beast in the run blocking game as well too, where he can get that leverage and get them up 2 to 3 yards. So he is phenomenal. He hasn't missed a game. He only has been flagged for 4 penalties in 1,138 snaps. He only been flagged 4 times. That's consistent and that's dominance. So he will be a first team All-Pro. I think he will keep it up. I think he will keep on going strong. I think he will still be a beast. I think both of those guys is going to have phenomenal years. I think with them going into year 3 together, that's going to even be more of an upside that we see this upcoming year. And now that we're going to be solidifying the outside with guys we want to probably push going forward as well too, we don't know the whole verdict on Donovan Smith yet, but he's young. We got actually he's not that young, but we got him on we got him on a 1-year deal. This can be a steal for the Kansas City Chiefs. We were able to lock up Jawan Taylor. If he has a phenomenal year, we're going to have 4 solid guys we know for sure, and then that left tackle position is going to be in question because we got 1 more season, and we'll just have to lock up that. But you have it all set in stone, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And I like talking about this position because this is a position that I played in high school as well.
I was gonna say that,
and
yeah.
I don't think they get a lot of credit how important this is. This is the front 5 that's going to be protecting your best quarterback that's in the league, Patrick Mahomes. So I think you're going to have a lot of first team All Pros on that line, and a couple of second team All Pros and third team All Pros as well too. Just because you got phenomenal guys across the league as well, that's just as good of what we got here up front. But these two stand out because they've been doing it on a consistent basis. And then this is going to be, I think this is Thuney. This is what there'll be year 3 on his contract, right? I think this will be year 3 on his contract. So that means we got him for another 2 years after that. And I can see us parting ways just because he already 30 years old right now. So by the end of his contract, he's going to be around 32, 33. So we really seeing how that injury go. If he has an injury history to where we got to move part ways, but it builds a strong basis around that offensive line. And we always consistency, and we always pick up great guys in the draft as well too, and also some guys are undrafted as well that are pretty solid that can come in and kind of fill that role. We always were able to have interchangeable offense alignment, so we're going to see how that goes. But I think first team All Pro is not a stretch. But I can say Creed for sure probably should get it this year. I think he's going to actually solidify himself as a best center this season. And Joe Thuney, he's just going to work off of that with him being the best and just contribute and be a dominant force on his end as well. Because we got to remember the left side of the line is always supposed to be the strongest, the best part of it, just because that's the quarterback of blind side and they're putting in the most dirty work. So we'll see how that goes. It's gonna be fun to watch. We're gonna see how they do. I think they can live up to those expectations. So I don't think that's far-fetched at all. But anything else you want to say before we move on?
No, I was just gonna say I'll let the people know. Yeah, this is a position that's near and dear to Dale's heart, right? The center position. They don't know, but I know. Dale played center in high school, so he's really you hitting home when you talk about the centers. And just lastly on Joe Thuney, I don't think that I just don't see. I gotta see Joe's play. I want to see if he can play at that high level. If Joe cannot meet that high level, I think it'll be some smoke and it'll be some hot water. It'll be somebody fighting for that position.
We're looking at Kennard as one of the somebody who could play that guard position. So even if they wanted to shift Trey Smith over there and then get Kennard at right guard, that would make sense pending injury, right? Just because that's what they've been doing. That's what he's been playing best at. So we'll see how that goes. But that interior part of that offensive line is going to be the best in the league regardless.
Yeah.
So it's stout. It's going to be fine. But now we're gonna jump into our next topic. This is probably one topic that I have been having the most interest to talk about, honestly, because that trailer didn't got me so hyped to watch it. I can't wait till July gets here. I believe it's coming around like the 14th or
July 12th.
13th, July 12th, something like
Yep.
that. Yeah, July 12th. So that's gonna be fun. And just to give a quick little synopsis about it. So I mean, it's set to release. Um, it's gonna be, yes. So it's set to release July 22nd.
July 22nd. Okay.
Yeah, it's a chronicle of the 2022 NFL season and the drive to survive SG format. So like I guess it's gonna just be giving the point of views and like the view in their eyes of what's been going on and like as a quarterback. So it features, like I said earlier, in our introduction to the show, Patrick Mahomes, uh, Minnesota Vikings quarterback, Kirk Cousins, and then Atlanta Falcons quarterback Marcus Mariota. And it looks like they were diving deep into like what they do after the games, like pretty much what they do, what their life is as a quarterback. So Lonnie, I just want to know what's your thoughts about that, because it seems like a fun docu series that we're gonna be happy to watch. I think definitely we're gonna definitely check this out, and we actually give a
Sure.
review over it as well too, because we're definitely gonna talk about it anyway after it. So we'll have a little something, some exclusive content to go over that. Just dive into that, how we feel about it. But Lonnie, how you what's your expectations of this docu series and
Yeah.
what you want to get out of it?
Yeah, so I'm super excited for the docu series. I'm super excited to see from the NFL lens of see from the lens of an NFL quarterback, right? So
Mhm.
I want to take that perspective, and that really puts it in the view for us, seeing it through this Netflix series. And I feel like it's going to give us the opportunity to see from a kind of not no offense to Marcus Mariota, but a lower class quarterback, a middle tier quarterback, and to a quarterback that's at the top of the game. I feel like it's going to give you three different perspectives of what life is like for those guys, right? I think it's going to also bring you into that preparation. I feel like I feel like this is kind of like the last dance, kind of in a sense. It's that inspiration for those kids, right?
Mhm.
It's that inspiration to find out what makes this superstar that superstar. What's
Yeah,
the why, right? What
yeah,
pushes Mahomes? What separates him from the rest of those other 32 quarterbacks that he's playing with in the league? Why does he
yeah,
win every year? Why is he successful in having a winning record? All of that
yeah.
shows, and I feel like that's something that kids will be able to see, and I feel like this is something that it's gonna resonate with a lot of people. Going through whether it be injuries and rehabbing, and interacting with his children, interacting with their children in general. I seen Kirk Cousins reading a book to his son. I feel like it's really just bringing us into their life and their day-to-day operations. Some people think it's just a game, right? We think we just show up and we play, and that's not the case, right? They sacrifice a lot of time from their kids, their families, their wives, to make us happy, right? To satisfy us with this sport that we love so much. So we don't get to necessarily see those sacrifices that they're making on those weekdays, or going in at 4 o'clock in the morning and getting treatment or working on their ankles. And just lastly, I think it's going to show us too, like what Mahomes went through, right? And how he got to where he could function and play at a high level in some of the biggest games of the year. And not only play at a high level, but play and perform and be able to win those games. I feel like, excuse me, that's a big difference
I,
in a lot of that went on in the playoffs. And I feel like that's gonna, like I said, that's gonna separate him from everybody else, and it's gonna really show those kids like it's cool to play when you're injured, right? It's cool to say, let me put myself to the side for the betterment of the team. Let me put team first, and I'm gonna go to great lengths to get healthy. It shows to be a good person. We don't see that a lot now, right? We see a lot
yeah.
of people that it's me, 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 me. And I feel like that'll give another perspective just to kids, and just to see how selfless the QB has to be. You can't be really a selfish person there. You can't be like a self-stat driven person. You have to really want to be successful and put your pride to the side, put ego to the side, put whatever it may be to the side for the betterment of the team, for them to have success.
I just want to know why
I feel like
Marcus
it'll show
Mariota.
that.
I just want to know why Marcus Mariota is in it. Not gonna lie to you. I just want to know why he's in it. No offense. I mean, are we still salty about that little weak little touchdown he had against us in the AFC divisional game? Probably so. Probably so. Like that's all I
It's
can say.
horrible.
It
It's
was
horrible.
but I think you made a good point when we talked about it as well too. Maybe it could be just showing from the best quarterback of the league to like the middle tier quarterback of the league, and then like one of the guys who are on one of those teams who are not as good, and see the process of how things is going up for them or how they complete tasks, whatever. I mean, it's interesting. I'm not gonna lie, but I think I'm fine with the Kirk Cousins because he has been a guy who kind of had to work himself up to even where he's at. We remember with him with the Washington
Commanders.
they were the Redskins at the
Yeah.
time. So I'm gonna say the Redskins. I'm not gonna even play them like that. They were the Redskins. We know y'all the Commanders now. But you remember that I like that. Great, just good. Had a couple playoff victories with them. Were able to will them into being somewhat of a relevant team during his time there. Then he went to the Minnesota Vikings. He was that guy. It's like he's not as good, and then he has grades where he's just great. Right, and it could be hidden with the talent he had. He had guys like Stephon Diggs when he was over there. Then he did what he was able to get a guy like Justin Jefferson, who is the best wide receiver in the league now, in my opinion. So it's cool to see that aspect of it because he had a culture shock as well too. They putting the chains on him, they embracing him as a quarterback in that organization. He was put him in the positions to where they was dominant in the NFC North. I believe in even winning the division as well too, kind of being the top team. Uh, After you saw the fall off of Aaron Rodgers, right? But they were still a wild card team as well too during that time as well. So it was just kind of fun. I could understand that. Now with Marcus Mariota, I think I would have went the Lamar Jackson route because that was an NFL MVP. But it's a lot of stigma and a lot of negative talk around a running quarterback, right? And he's someone who's trying to prove that and show that this year. He dealt with injury. He dealt with the lapse of like the support that he's been getting from people because they have this vendetta against him just because off of his ability to be a running quarterback and denying his level of play as someone who can throw the ball as well. I feel like that would have been fun to see and see that side of it and how he takes it just because he's going through some of those things as well too. And it being maybe it could have shifted and geared some positivity and gained some respect from him as well.
Yes, for sure. I feel like I definitely get what you said. It definitely could have took a negative connotation if the NFL wanted to
Exactly.
debunk that theory that we don't treat black players like this, and let's just be honest that we don't treat black quarterbacks like this. Well, bring the cameras in, right? Let them go on that. Let them travel with them. Let them walk around and let us see that you don't treat the black quarterback like that. Let us see that you value him, right? That debunks a lot of myths. So I agree with that. Go ahead.
Like you will really expect that, and we're not saying that just because we feel like just everybody's doing the black quarterback wrong. No, it's not that, but like we didn't have a lot of the black quarterbacks who have been stepping up and been playing lights out. I mean, before the Deshaun Watson incident, he was considered the top 3 quarterback in the league. Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks and has phenomenal years after that, and then went over to the Denver Broncos. I mean, you just got a whole lot of other players as well too. You seeing Jalen Hurts, he just participated in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. This was the first time that 2 black quarterbacks was in the Super Bowl and playing in the Super Bowl against one another and was headlining that game. You're seeing it go up. Like it's trending upward. So that's not really the problem. But the negative connotation, like you said, on a running quarterback, because that's what Lamar Jackson is. And there's no offense to him because he's one of the best in the league, and he's still. It just let's see what his thought process and how he takes each Sunday out of the week, or I mean, take all the days from the practice out of the week leading up to that Sunday game, where how his mindset is going as being a leading quarterback who's leading that organization for the Baltimore Ravens. It'll be like we want to see that side of it.
And not only see that, right? But I'm sorry, not to keep cutting you off, but to see how he navigates life, right? People think that he goes and he's going up and he's getting contracts. These players go up and they get these $100 million contracts for themselves. Yes, you go get it for yourself, But Lamar Jackson may be dealing with auntie that may need something because my back home, or he may be dealing with
Yeah.
grandma that needs something because she needs medicine or something. There's other avenue. There's several different things that these players deal with on a daily basis that warrant them doing the things that they do as far as sitting out and holding out for money. It's
You
one
know,
thing to be a game for us, but it's another thing to really be real life for a player.
and this guy's from Florida. He definitely came from the hood. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Like a lot of us
yeah,
come from the hood, bro. Like he comes from that type of area, and with just seeing how he was able to finesse a contract with his mother and not have an agent and be one of the top paying quarterbacks in the league. Like that's phenomenal. Like we want to see how that process
absolutely.
went. That's just insane. And then he's a black quarterback at that as well too. Like, be honest. Like I feel like a guy like Tom Brady probably could go into contract talks by himself and be cool and be able to get be able to finesse it to how he wants. But we wouldn't expect a guy like Lamar Jackson to do it. Like really, we wouldn't. Like, and
And
there's no offense to that as well. Like we wouldn't expect that.
and
So
it's
how did
always
he do it?
and there's always anomalies with this situation, right? And this is the sad part. And I'm gonna just put it out there. We always running into this with in the NFL when it's time to give us our money, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always a problem. It's always other things or outlying factors as to why you don't want to give this man his money, and it may be a man
Yep.
of color. It's usually typically a man of color, a la Le'Veon Bell. A lot of these situations happen, and it's not to. I don't want to pit the NFL in that bad light. It's not a black white thing, but when you see it coming from an organization that's represented by the Shield, that's represented with no one, with probably only one owner that looks like me and you get a different feeling when that man is presenting you a contract and he's not trying to give you what you're asking for. And
Yep.
that's not and it's not to throw we don't not to start the race thing or anything. It's just to say that this man doesn't value me as if it
Yeah.
was a man that came from my situation. He doesn't value me as a man that was in my shoes, that knows that my grandma may need some money, that knows that auntie may need some help getting her son shoe. It's somebody that knows my situation is the only one that's going to understand and be able like, okay, I understand why you're asking for that. Let me go ahead and make that happen. Now we
Yeah.
understand things are business and everything is a negotiation, but the NFL, I feel like, shortchanges themselves with the African American players, the one that they depend on the most, when they don't let us see things like this. And when we do
Mm-hmm.
see things like this from the outside looking in, you have a son, and I'm having a son myself. And if God forbid they go to the NFL, because the first thing we tell them is get your money and you get it as soon as possible.
Yep.
Don't wait for anybody because as soon as you hurt, you're gonna be on the next bus out of there.
Because everybody thinks getting $1 million just enough. That's not enough, bro. And
It's
especially
not.
in today's world. Like, no, they need to like you gotta think the taxes come out of that. So they probably only getting like really a couple hundred thousands out of that because they gotta Uncle Sam gotta get his money. So it's deep is deeper factors in these type of talks that's going on. And then you gotta think about what type of quarterback he is. This has always been my argument as well, too. What did y'all do to even like help him succeed to become a passing quarterback in the passing league? Y'all don't provide him as many weapons. I mean, he had Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown, and then y'all end up going to get an injured Sammy Watkins, who only played for 7 to 8 games, 8 games a year, and we had him and we dealt with that. Then y'all go get a Demarcus Robinson. I mean, now y'all got Odell. Now y'all got Bateman back from injury as well too.
Zay
Who
Flowers.
they Zay Flowers? Y'all got Zay Flowers. Well, now y'all putting it together because now since y'all invested that money, now he need to pass the ball, right? You should have did that and build him up from that.
Absolutely.
Understand running the RPO was winning y'all games and getting y'all to the playoffs as well, but it's easier to lock in on that opposed to a quarterback who was phenomenal at throwing the ball, wide receivers who was great at getting open, and then they're working hand in hand to succeed in that offense. He needed that growth as well too.
Absolutely.
And then you got a guy like Mahomes who's able to do all the fancy and anomaly things that everybody else can't do, but that just goes to what he put into his style of play and his skill set, and that's why he's able to supersede those expectations that people put on him when he came into the league. They
Yeah.
thought he was just gonna be someone who just throws over the top. He was gonna be just a backyard type of football player, but it ended up being bigger than what it is now. And he's a two-time champion. But I know we went way over
we
into the
did,
conversation,
but
but
I was
it
gonna say
comes
that.
back because that's what we want to see in that documentary. But
Absolutely,
it's still going to be entertaining to see. Now, I think Marcus Mariota is going to have some key points and probably some things that we'll be able to relate to or understand his process of thinking. But we wanted to see that from probably a top 10 quarterback in the league who was actually actively going through some controversy as well, and that would have been honestly more entertaining to see the process of what was going on with that. Because if this is the life of an NFL QB, Lamar Jackson is really at the top of the list on that with all he dealt with from the offseason. Because one thing that Jordan Schultz said this year, and he said it on his podcast, Lamar Jackson, excuse me, free agent talk or contract negotiation talk with the Baltimore Ravens was one of those where you couldn't get the exact answer. Everything that was going out there was lies. He put it out there. He said it was lies because you didn't have an agent to go talk to. It's no one connected to the league where you getting all this news. Y'all speculating, saying whatever you want, and it's not what it is.
Yeah.
They said it about his contract deal. Wasn't even what it was. People talking about he should just took the deal that he got with that. Like, y'all don't even know exactly what's going on. And he got a better deal than what y'all said he should have took. So him waiting that long made sense. So it don't matter.
And I just want to say, this is what, when people think that when people say like, oh, these people or this group of people is against me, they hate me, they not for my success. When you don't take the necessary opportunities, and this is just to the Ravens organization and the NFL as a whole. If you don't give someone, it's any employer, the necessary tools to succeed, and you expect them to be successful, or they exceed your expectations, they're deserving of pay. And that goes for me, you, anybody that works at their job. If you supersede expectations with no help from the employer, you are deserving of a raise, of a promotion, any of that. And the worst thing to do is to feel like you're not appreciated, right? Yeah. It's to feel like you're not valued, or like we'll put everything on your shoulders, and then to put everything on someone's shoulders, they get hurt, and then to say we're still not gonna pay you. We don't trust it. We don't trust you. It's like a spit in the face. So like the NFL has to start viewing these situations totally different. Did you give him everything to be successful in that first year, right? Did you take those necessary steps like you did with Mahomes and give him a Tyreek Hill, give him a DeMarcus Robinson, give him a young Sammy Watkins? You did none of that. You did none of that. You tried to piece together a wide receiver core that was never going to make it 3 days, but you expect him to be successful, and he was still successful. So due to him doing that, he superseded those expectations. He's deserving of a payday of some type of raise. And I just want to leave it there because I know we didn't plan on talking about Lamar. It's about Mariota, but we're just saying, as far as the NFL getting a negative connotation off of them, they have this dark cloud over them with African American players, and that's just not what it should be. African American quarterbacks, and Lamar Jackson situation just made it look really, really bad. And like, you don't appreciate people, and that's the last thing somebody wants to feel like, is they're unappreciated by their employer.
Yeah, you're right. Well, that was a good conversation, and I mean, I'm sure we'll definitely dive into it more, especially after the docu-series come out. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's still going to be good, though. I think we're going to have a fun time watching it. We're not going to take anything away from it. It's just we have opposing, like, who should have been in there or not. We was fine with two of them. It's just one, like, we felt like could have been differently. But it's perfectly fine. But that's all we have for this episode of Chiefin with Daily Dale. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms, KC Sports Company, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Then also make sure to tap into my social media on Facebook, Dale Fowler Jr., Twitter, Dale E. Fowler, and then on Instagram, Daily_Dale9. And then for Lonny, we got him on Instagram, _Lono, LONO_, right?
Yep.
And then on Twitter, _Lono, LONNO_.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep. That's it. That's the handles.
So, yep, that's all we have for this episode of Chiefin with Daily Dale. Make sure to tap in with us later and talk to y'all next time.
See y'all.